Hello, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to be talking about episode 5 of Loki, and in particular, we're going to be talking about the Old Man Loki character. I don't know if that's his official title, but that's what I'm going to go with. Wow. Honestly, this was my favorite version of Loki that was introduced in this episode, or at the very least introduced at the very end of last episode, and I was blown away, specifically because of his story, the way that he acted, and the immense potential that we saw through this version of Loki. After watching everything with this older version of Loki, I can only imagine what's going to happen moving forward with Tom Hiddleston's character, because I truly hope that we get to see a version of Loki as Tom Hiddleston much more powerful in terms of his magical capability. And in particular, I would like him to be expanding beyond his abilities as an illusionist, obviously growing that power maybe to the same extent that this ancient or old man version of Loki had his abilities progressed, but on top of that, mixing that in with, say, some more variety of different types of magic, similar to maybe something like Doctor Strange, or how Wanda's abilities have progressed as of late as well. I think that would be a great opportunity for this character, but yeah, that's just something that I hope to see moving forward beyond this particular show. Back to the older version of Loki. So, I think that this, and I don't know who the actor is, but he showed an insight to Loki's character that wasn't necessarily expressed through Tom Hiddleston or Sylvie. I don't know the actress's name who plays Sylvie, but like our main version of Loki and Sylvie, and that is that what happens when Loki is all alone, and what happens, what exactly is he if not a trickster? And really, it's just, I mean, I don't know how to put it into words, but he's just a guy trying to live life. I don't know if that makes sense, but at the very least, that's what this older version of Loki made his life seem to have been. It was just him relaxing, trying to live as low as possible, just live on this desolate planet, and towards the end of his time in his timeline, his only regret, so to speak, was not seeing his brother. And it was that sentiment, that idea that he would want to see his brother again, and the curiosity to know whether or not he would be well received, or people would be happy to have seen him again. That sentiment is exactly what led to him being caught by the TVA, because as soon as he went to go and reach out to his family again, his brother again, that's when the TVA came for him, because he was now breaking out of the edges of his story. Honestly, that's just so fascinating to me, because see, we see glimpses of Loki's care for his family, especially even Thor, more so with Frigga, but it's always overshadowed by his need to impress others, or to show people up, especially his brother, and to not necessarily show his vulnerability for too long. And this idea that at the end of everything, not really the end of everything, but at the end of this older Loki's journey, all he really wanted to do was see his brother again. Not only that, but the other aspect of this character in particular that I find so fascinating is his magical prowess. And I mentioned this a second ago with what our Loki, Tom Hiddleston, or even Sylvie could potentially become moving forward. But in truth, like, this Loki seemed to have been the epitome of what Loki's capability with illusion magic could be. And I just found that so fascinating. And also, his most grand and last spell was recreating his homeland. Again, that to me, that touches upon two things. One, the grandiose nature of his potential, and two, that at the end of everything, at the end of Loki's journey, he still considers himself to be Asgardian, or at the very least, he still considers himself to be the son of Odin and Freya, or not Freya, Frigga, and the brother of Thor. That's what he sees himself as in this older rendition. And I think that provides us with an extra level of insight with specifically Tom Hiddleston's version of Loki, because we don't really see that as much with Sylvie because she was so young when she was taken, but it's really fascinating to me. And then with this immense power, I mean, honestly, I was like smiling so much when he said his final words, glorious purpose, because throughout the episode, I mean, I believe he said it a few times throughout the episode, but that was more in a mocking tone, I think, because the glorious purpose was said here and there, but I don't remember if it was exactly him. But I think that he was mainly making fun or talking down to the other versions of Loki, saying that, oh, it's in our nature to backstab, why are all Lokis like this, what's wrong with us, blah blah blah. And in the end, like, he's still a Loki, and he saw this final moment as his glorious purpose, his return to being the god of mischief of Loki. And in the end, he was able to provide the other two versions of Loki, Sylvie as well as our Tom Hiddleston version of Loki, that were following, the opportunity to do what they needed to do. Unfortunately, it did cost him his life, but, and honestly, I think that's the worst part about this. I think that him dying here is the biggest missed opportunity here, and I hope they find a way to bring whoever that actor is back for this role, maybe in the next episode, but especially in the future. I think it would be amazing to see this older version of Loki more often. And yeah, I mean, did anyone else get chills during that laugh, by the way? I mean, I got chills. So, like, right after he said glorious purpose and then he started laughing, that reminded me of this, I think it's the smile, or I don't remember if he laughs, but the smile that Loki has at the beginning of the Avengers film, where he appears at the SHIELD facility with the Mind Stone, with his scepter, and he just has this huge grin on his face. And honestly, it brought me back to that. It made me truly believe that this character was the same Tom Hiddleston version of Loki that went through all of that, through Ragnarok, and then lived life on a desolate planet. Or not desolate planet, a remote planet. And I don't know, whoever this actor is, he did such a good job at showing the wisdom and the difference between him and his younger counterparts, but then to also, at the very last moment, show us a glimpse as to the god of mischief that we all know and love. And honestly, that to me was the greatest performance of this episode. That I didn't notice anything in particular with Sylvie or our Loki that stood out in this particular episode, but this potentially one-off version of Loki was fascinating to me. He was more fascinating to me than the boastful Loki is what he's called, the kid Loki, the alligator Loki. I mean, all those guys were cool. I mean, even President Loki seemed more like a gag at the end, but yeah, I really loved this character's introduction and the insights that we got through viewing this character. That being said, I very much question that this is the last time we're going to see this type of a version of Loki. I think, and I hope, that the final villain is also an Old Man Loki, not the same one, but a villainous counterpart. So one that, say, killed Thor, maybe killed Odin, I mean, potentially took over Asgard and became king, and potentially one that ended up creating the TVA. I mean, that's who I want at this point to be the villain. I think that would be so fascinating, just to give us another clear insight into this character, and it would be so cool for Tom Hiddleston and as well as Sylvie to have to try and attack and fight a version of Loki so much more powerful than themselves, or one that is just fully embraced villainy, one with the huge horns like this Old Man Loki, but also one that is just so arrogant, so vile, so quick to manipulate those around him. And I just think that would be so fascinating to see. Do you agree with that? I mean, let me know in the comments below if you think that an older version of Loki being the final villain of this show would be super cool to you. I personally don't think it should be another version of Tom Hiddleston, just because it could be confusing in a battle sequence, but also like just to give this actor another opportunity to continue playing this iconic role and to just show more shades of this character, because I think he did a wonderful job. And yeah, what did you think about this character? What did you think about this episode overall? Do you agree with my theory here? Do you agree with my final thoughts on this particular rendition of the Loki character, this older, more mature, and much more gifted or skillful with his magic? Do you think that we'll get to see our Tom Hiddleston become more like this, or even Sylvie's character become more like this? Where do you think the final episode of this series is going to go? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. That being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe for more videos from me. Click the like button, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.